This week you are going to be learning how to create accordion panels using JavaScript, jQuery, and the jQuery user interface. You're going to be learning how to do tabbed panels using all three. You will also be learning how to do a modal window in JavaScript and jQuery, and then you will be learning how to do a responsive slider in jQuery and a photo slider. So these are all kind of neat things, fun things to learn. And in the lecture demo, I do start with a little link to the jQuery user interface. We will be using it in a couple exercises, and I do take you out there in a couple of the videos and kind of show you where things are. But if you want more detailed information, you can download the PDF. This first section talks a little bit about how to code for people who don't, or whose computers don't support JavaScript. This is included in here because you need to know it for the MTA exam. So make sure you read through that. Then we get into accordion panels, and I have some interactive ones here, but this is basically what they look like. And then I have an example on a separate page. There is a video that walks you through the code. This is basically the same thing. It's just horizontal. So here's the vertical one, and here's the horizontal one. Okay, so same thing, just laid out a little bit different. And then we go through the same exact type thing using jQuery. And so here's an example, and then there's a YouTube video that walks you through it. Okay, so we look at the code and talk about what it's doing. And then there's a couple additional examples that you can look at. Then we go through the user interface accordion widget. So there's the example and then the code that explains. There's really not much to this though, because this is all the code that you need if you're going to use the user interface. But what the video does show you is how to go out to the jQuery API site and how to see the documentation on the different widgets and how to select themes and colors and all that kind of fun stuff. And this talks about that as well. Then we get into tabbed panels, and again we do one in JavaScript. So here's the tab panel. This is basically what it looks like. And then there's a video explaining all the code. And then we go through jQuery tab panels. So this does the same thing in jQuery. And then there is also a video, it's further on down, but we talk about some of the new methods in the code, and then here's the full example, and then the YouTube video explaining what it does. And then, if there wasn't enough choices already, we got JavaScript, we got jQuery, and now we got the jQuery UI, which also does tab panels. So here's all of the HTML, CSS, and script for that. And here's what it looks like on a separate page. Okay, and then here is the YouTube video that explains that code. Then we get into Modal Windows, which I am sure you guys have seen. The textbook author's example does not work because there's some SSL certificates that need to be updated. Here is an example that's out on the web that is super cool. And this is an example of Modal Windows. And I also created an example for you guys to look at. And so here is my example. I've got several. This one uses a button to pull up the modal. And then this is the same thing, but instead of a button, there's a link. And then there's a video explanation of how that code works. And then here is an example of a jQuery modal. And this is very similar to what the textbook author did, except for mine works. So to bring up the modal, you click on that, and you'll notice I included a font awesome icons here, close button, all that fun stuff. And this video explains what that code does. And let's see. For the photo viewer is really fun. I have one and the textbook author has one. It's the same code. Okay, this is mine. So kind of fun. And the YouTube video goes through what the code is doing. And then the responsive slider. So I have one, so does the textbook book author. Okay, and the slider is actually one of my favorite things. And here is a YouTube video that shows you how to use that. I like the slider so much that I stuck it on my home page. Okay, and you guys are going to be learning how these work. But they're kind of nifty to actually put on a page. So that's basically what you're going to be learning, how to basically take some of the code you know and apply it in a bunch of different ways. The user interface is new, but everything else we have been using. I did include some reference links for jQuery effects and animation and slide methods, fading methods, all of that. If you want more information on any of them, you can click on the link. Now, once you finish going through all of that, you can do the lab. And so the lab assignment, you're going to be creating these different kinds of pages. So what I did was I took the links to the videos and I included them in here. In case you didn't see them in the lecture demo, I wanted to make sure that you understood the code that you are using. So we've got exercise 1, creating a page using panels. And so you are going to be creating the respective folders, and you can either do this in jQuery or JavaScript, which is why I included all the examples. And then exercise 2, you're going to create a page using the jQuery user interface. And if you want to kind of redo what you did in exercise 1, you want to reuse your HTML, your CSS, that is perfectly fine. But you do need to use the jQuery UI. And I do have a couple examples with links to videos that explain the code. Third thing you're going to do is create a modal window. And you can use either jQuery or JavaScript, whichever one you prefer. And I did include all of the links from the lecture and the links to the videos that explain what the code does. And then finally, you're either going to do the photo viewer or the responsive slider. You do not have to do both. Pick one or the other. And I did include all the examples and also links to the videos. Okay, and that is the assignment. If you run into problems, make sure that you have the page online and then email me and I can go take a look. Also, what you need to turn in, what is due, is milestone 2. And milestone 2 is one of your games has to be completely done and you have to be partially through the second one. You also need to have the mini showcase turned in. where you're basically demoing the game. But make sure you pull up the instructions because they're a lot more detailed, and make sure that you've included all the requirements so you can get all the points. And sometime this semester, you are going to want to take the test of everyday reasoning with numeracy because it is worth 20 points extra credit. You should have gotten your login information through your NMC email. And even if you are taking the test for a different class, come into the Dropbox and enter done, because I still have access to your information and I will give you 20 points for doing it. If you took the test last year, you still need to take it this year. So we're in a whole new year and you need to take the test. For those of you who took it last year, you had to download the interface and take it in the interface. And I think you will be pleasantly surprised because this year it is 100 times more flexible. So they allow you to take this on any platform. You can take it in the browser. You can take it on your phone. You can take it on an iPad. Super flexible. And so if you have any questions about that process, let me know. If you have any questions about lesson 10 and what you have to complete, let me know. And if you run into problems on your project milestone, make sure it's online and send me an email and I will take a look at it.